Hi YouTube, it's Misty Phoenix for Tripped Out Tuesdays with What's Crackin'. I am so tired. Last night I did a show at Main Event with Bella Dolce and Keisha Miller and a couple of new girls. I'm really bad at names. I'm really sorry. And we also had Wyatt Chocolate. He's a new stripper. He's really good. You should check him out. And we also had the legendary, absolutely amazing, legendary Misty Night. Tom McCracken was there to see me completely geeking. And ironically enough that I performed with her yesterday because this week's topic is to talk about our inspirations in drag, how we met them, the first time we talked to them, yada yada yada. Well, coincidentally, my biggest inspiration in drag, if you haven't already caught on, was actually Misty Night. Story goes like this. I was 16 years old when I started going to bars. I know, don't yell at me. And the first queen that I ever saw was Monica St. James. Monica St. James, fantastic entertainer, knows her shit like the back of her hand. And that was my first exposure to drag. Was a show with Monica there, and it was at, what's it called? Kellogg, Adonis. You were over at Adonis. Had absolutely no idea what drag was at this point. I had like a general idea. I knew it was dudes in dresses, but that's about all I knew. So, seeing Monica and seeing these other girls on stage was like crazy for me because I had absolutely no clue at all. You guys are also getting a day in the life of Misty, by the way, while we're doing this. So, I had absolutely no clue what drag was at this point. This is my apartment building. It's kind of crappy right now, just because it's dark. I look like Cherry Poppins right now. Hold on. See? All you could see was my teeth. Cherry Poppins realness. Or Ebony St. James, depending on how you look at it. Love you, bitch. Anyway. So. Saw Monica St. James for my very first drag show ever when I was 16. Thought she was amazing. And then... And then I got to see Misty Night at a show. Now, let's just talk about the first time I saw Misty Night. Hold on, we're going to have light here in 5 seconds. I'm sorry. Bam! First time I ever saw Misty Night. Bitch had a fucking snake on stage. Snake. Like, snake. Thing was like, well, really big. Like, giant, huge, like, out to here. Huge snake on stage. I about died because I'm terrified of snakes, but I think the biggest reason it inspired me so much is because it's like, first off, at that point in time, I was like, I could never be brave enough to be a dude, put on the kind of stuff that they were wearing, and go on stage and perform. I was like, I could never do that. That would be terrifying. I'd freak out. And, oddly enough, but I was absolutely mortified. And then I think to myself, okay, all these girls are putting on dresses, they're putting on hair, they're putting beautiful makeup on their face, and now this bitch is just up in the ante by walking around with a snake. Scantily clad, mind you, with a snake. Now, people can make all the jokes they want about Misty Night being old or whatever. You know what, bitch? She might be old, but she can move. And she still got body for days. Okay? I worked with that bitch last night and I was like, honey, you have got less fabric on your entire body than I have covering my breasts. And for those of you who know Misty's drag, there's not usually much covering my breasts. So, that's saying something. And then she'll go out there and just kill it. And I'm like, bitch, yes. To see her who, I saw something on Facebook probably, I don't know, 2 weeks ago-ish. It was a Throwback Thursday picture that she put up of her a long time ago. She did a couple of them. And then there was one, it was my personal favorite, where she had a list of all of her titles. And there was like a program or a flyer or something that had all of her titles that she had won on it. And I was like, oh my god, that's awesome. Like, to look at some of the titles, she's got titles from all around the country. titles from Florida. There were titles from South Carolina. There were titles. I mean, literally everywhere you could possibly think of, there were titles. And I was like, she travels all the time for this, and it's something she obviously loves to do, or she wouldn't have been doing it for all of these years. And that, to me, was my biggest inspiration, is that she has been able to make a living and been able to, really live what she wants to do with her life by, doing something she loves and by being crazy at it. Like, who the fuck walks on stage with a snake? But that's her thing. And every time I talk to somebody about Misty, and, every time I have that conversation with somebody about Misty, and I talk about the fact that all the shit that she's done, and they're always like, I tell them, like, the first time, I tell them, like, I'll never forget the first time I saw her, and they're like, don't tell me she had a snake. And I'm like, yes, she did! It's kind of everything. But no, here's my phone. This is the Throwback Thursday picture thing I was telling you about. It's titled The Original Goddess of Illusion, and there's a bunch of reviews. It says, Misty Knight on Stage, You Can't Touch This by Victory Magazine, Cleveland, Ohio. A Real Pro, Excellent by Dayton Daily News. Wild Antics kept audience on their toes, Valentine News, Cleveland, Ohio. More Than a Few Shivers, Columbus, Ohio, GT. What a Wild Performance, Show Me Guide, St. Louis, Missouri, one more place. Fantastic Fire Dancer Extraordinaire, Tacky's Gazette in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So bitch has gone from Cleveland to Fort Lauderdale in like 5 things. Charlotte, North Carolina, Indianapolis. Let's talk about titles. Miss Black Ohio 1990, Miss Heartland USA 89, Miss Bandits Hideaway 88, Miss Midwest US of A, Miss Ohio Continental Emeritus, Miss Myrtle Beach Leather, Miss Underground Myrtle Beach, Miss After Dark Fort Wayne, Miss Ebony Fantasy, Miss Kit Kat Club, Miss Show and Tell, current reigning Miss Unlimited Classique, current reigning Miss Mask. Come on now. What's not to be ridiculously happy about? So, yeah, Misty Knight, definitely my inspiration to do drag. I kind of call it a 3-way tie, in all reality, between Monica St. James, Misty Knight, and Whitney Page. Whitney Page is actually the first person to ever tell me that I should do drag. Not a lot of people actually know that. Some people, a lot of my friends that I'm still friends with now were there. Stella Hart, Eve DePuss. Whitney Page was the first person to actually tell me, you should do this. If it's something you're so interested in, it's something you should try. Which, to hear that from somebody, and at the time I had no idea how big a deal Whitney Page was. Until I actually started doing drag, I had no idea, what caliber of entertainer. Obviously I enjoyed her performance immensely, but I had no idea, who I was talking to. Whitney Page, a million titles. And then, to have had the opportunity to see Misty Knight on stage not too long prior to meeting Whitney, and seeing her on stage, just the bravery of some of the things that she does, and the stage presence, I think, is the biggest thing for me, was these women, when they take that stage, they're nothing holds back. And that is what I strive to do. First time I met Whitney Page was at Cabaret. It was about 1.5 years ago. And it was when she was judging for a competition that they were having at the Cabaret, and I'm not 100% sure what it was because I hadn't been there in a while prior to. But it was a competition at the Cabaret, and Whitney Page was actually judging. And she's Monica Page St. James, drag mom, for those of you who didn't know that. And when she told me, she's like, honey, you should do drag. You should do it. And she said, here. And she goes back into the dressing room and she gets a pair of black pumps. Just basic pair of black shoes. I actually still use them as gown shoes. And I got them from Whitney Page before I ever actually started drag. And to me, that was huge. And even now, it's huge. And especially after she passed. The night that she passed, I was actually doing a show at Main Event. And I actually heard from Eve DePuss because I hadn't been on Facebook at the time, and obviously the entire drag community was very much so affected. But, to hear of her passing, to me, was big. as well as, especially considering it hadn't been all that long at the time since, me and her had that talk about, her saying that I should try it if it's something I'm so interested in. So I kind of have a three-way tie for inspirations, but I think the two people who really influenced me the most to do it were Misty Knight, just to see the way she moved, to see the presence that she has, and to see the way the crowd reacts from her, and the way she feeds off the crowd. To me, that's just huge. And I don't care if there's 2 people in the crowd, I don't care if there's 200 people in the crowd. I'm going to dance for 2 people. I'm going to dance for 200 people. Because if I dance for those 2 people will one day be part of that 200 because they got a good show even when it was only a couple of them. And if that's the one thing that I loved about watching Whitney's performances and watching Misty's performances and Monica's performances is there's that soul, there's that passion, there's that drive when they're on the stage that, unfortunately, I see a lot of entertainers say, I'm not dancing tonight, there's not enough of a crowd. Or there's not enough people here. Or my personal favorite is Misty. Why are you doing a 6-minute dance mix for 10 people? Because I want those 10 people to remember me. I want those 10 people to be like, that's the bitch that worked it out when we were here. And then they're going to come back. And then the next time there's only 10 people, I'll do the same thing for those 10 people. And then I'll have 20 people who have seen me work it out. And I don't want to ever let anyone that comes to one of my shows down. If I'm going to call myself a dancing queen, I'm going to dance. If I was a costume queen, I wouldn't do lazy costumes just because the crowd's small. If I, whatever it is I do, I'm going to do my best. And if that's one of the biggest things that I think I've been inspired to do by these 3 fabulous queens is I've never seen anything less than their best. At any show, in any videos, in any pictures, these were strong queens who have been in the business for a long time, who have done pageant after pageant, who have won title after title, who have a fan base where they show up at any city and there's people there. And that recognition that these girls get is just truly fantastic, and it's something that I strive for. So I would like to thank Misty Knight. I would like to thank Monica St. James, and rest in peace, Whitney Page. Thank you so much for that push and that encouragement to get started, because now that I've started, I don't want to stop. So that is your Tricked Out Tuesdays. Got a little bit more sentimental than you guys are used to seeing out of me, didn't it? So I will see you guys tonight at Shooters for drag boxing. We're going to beat the hell out of each other. Drag queens are always dramatic and catty anyway, so this is just giving us an opportunity to get rid of some aggression. So, I will see you guys tonight at Shooters, and then tomorrow I will be at Main Event. Thursday I will be at Cabaret and Main Event. Friday I will be at Main Event with Adriana Brooks, Tyra Brooks, Dominique Million, Amaya Sexton, and myself. So, everybody come out and see me at some point this week, or at multiple points this week, or every night this week. I don't really care. I won't blame you, because I know we've got some pretty sick shows lined up for you over the next couple of days. So, everybody come back and see us, and make sure you go out to see Monica St. James. She is Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays at the Cabaret. Thursdays is the open stage. And do remember, this Friday, our new cast member for What's Crackin' Naomi and Asses Dupree, it's her birthday! Yay! So, everybody wish her a happy birthday. Go to her Facebook, add her on Facebook. She's sickening. I looked at her face the other day and I was just like, ooh, she pretty. Yeah. So, go check her out. Add her. Remember, we are still having open auditions. I believe it's only 3 more days. I think you have until this Friday, if I remember correctly. So, if you want to audition to be on What's Crackin', so you can make all these crazy videos like I do, then hurry up and get it done. And get it sent in. And you may be the next member of What's Crackin'. Da da da!